Hey, how's it going? I think I need to turn that down. Hi. Thanks for looking at my overhead light, and ceiling for a second. Hey, how's it going? So today, I want to talk about the righteous gemstones. Hey, come on now. Season 2, episode 3. Oh, I see what's happening. My chair is locked. So, the righteous gemstones is on HBO, or Max. And it stars a whole bunch of comedians and comedic actors, and it's completely absurd, and it really kind of skewers a lot of things that are truly a part of our society, because this is fictional, and it's satire, but it's so close to the truth sometimes. It's absurd and ridiculous, and that is why I love it. So this is from season 2, and it's episode 3. And when I was just doing my little bit of prep work to do this, I just Googled it. So it's not IMDb, it's just Google. And they have their information is pretty similar, pretty close to what IMDb has, but there's a couple of little differences. And one is, I don't know if you can see it from from here, from wherever you are. So I don't know, maybe I'll just get backed up here and get a little bit closer, because what come here. What oh, now you can't see it at all. Yay. Will you come on? Oh, you bastard. Pardon my language. What is happening? Oh, you're just trying to squirt right onto the floor. Hold on, I have to screw with my silly, with my practical effects setup here. Because none of it is intended to be doing what I have it doing. But anyway, here. Come on now. Okay, so you might notice at the top there, I think it was at the top, that I wrote what Google had for the description. Yeah, it's pretty small. It's up at the top right. And the description they had for the show was crime. And that cracked me up, because I think a lot of the sort of industrial churches that are all about the money, well, like, that's all they're into, really. And then they're not totally kosher. It's churches, but I think the meaning transfers here. Okay, here, I'm just gonna pause this for a moment so I can get my silly setup set up. Hold on. Okay, so we'll see how this works. Anyway, the description that IMDb has for the show is comedy drama. So I just thought it was kind of apt that they put crime and left out comedy and drama completely, because it just sort of tracks with what I was just saying about their those mega churches, their businesses being not quite kosher. They're like a couple of months ago I was talking about this, and these were like not really mega church guys, but definitely in it for the money church, where the pastor was basically just chiding his congregation because they didn't contribute enough money so that it could like fund a new designer watch. Just like, you just don't even care. Well, where's the religion? It was just a clip, but the clip was a long time about him complaining about that. Um, I don't know if it's the same one that got robbed right in the middle of a sermon, but they get so, like I said, they're not mega churches. It's kind of larger, smaller churches, but I don't even know. It's the size of my screen on my phone. But like the guy is yelling, this guy, different guy, yelling at his people and something to do with not enough money from them. And uh, all of a sudden he's all, oh no, wait, no, okay, I'll get down, I'll stop here, take everything, here, take my watch. And people screaming and running, and you can hear in the background because they're on there blabbing about what they got, and wearing it, head to toe labels. People also into that are gonna notice, and they both just really called the worst kind of attention to themselves, because I wasn't seeing their sermon because I was on there for the religion. I saw their sermon because of the crimes. So, okay. The show, as you can see, has like almost all comedians and comedic actors. And he wasn't in the episode, but Walton Goggins, his name keeps coming up like personally, so I don't know why there's a recurrence of this guy's name over and over, but I enjoy him a lot as an actor. But not to get like totally stuck on him, he is in the cast of the Righteous Gemstones, but I don't recall seeing him in the episode. But the reason why it's like reverberating is because Eric Roberts is in the episode, and I don't know if he's been on before, because I kind of skipped from whatever was the last thing I watched to season one, of season one, and then somehow landed on this episode. Didn't look at the two before or anything after, just okay. So Walton Goggins not in the episode, right? But Eric Roberts joins, well, he's in the episode, and he's talking, and he's got this accent, right? And the whole time I'm thinking, well, you didn't try very hard. You sound like you stole Walton Goggins' accent. Hold on. Ooh, I need to add some more water to that. And I was trying to remember, well, where is Eric Roberts from? And it seems like he was like lived in LA my whole life. But I knew that he did move there when he was young from somewhere else. And then I was all, is it New York? And I just thought, he doesn't really have any of that in his accent anywhere. And then I remember that when Julia Roberts, by the time like everybody knew who she was, she had already done a bunch of stuff that, I've talked about this before, commercials and background and stuff where she doesn't say anything before she was famous. Like, you got to do a bunch of stuff to get there, right? So once she did get famous, you got to see earlier stuff where like her hair, I'm sorry, Nicole Kidman, but I'm going to include you in this too. Both of you, before you were famous, your hair was like kind of crazy because you didn't have the stylist, and it's super curly. But the before pictures of both of them are similar to me, and that was your follicle focus. But anyway, in those earlier clips of Julia Roberts, she has a southern accent, and you can tell she's trying to. Well, I've seen a couple, and one is just like, oh, it's out there. It's out and proud. And then I saw a second one that was later, and you could tell she was working on getting rid of it. And then, by the time you see Pretty Woman or Mystic Pizza, you're like, what accent? Where's she? You just think she's from LA or something. And that's what happened to my brain with Eric Roberts. I didn't hear like anything but LA. Like I don't even hear the slightest his accent sounded fake, and the reason why I'm going all cuckoo about the southern accents with those two is because they're southern. They're from Biloxi, Mississippi. I don't think that's where Walton Goggins is from, but um, I maybe I need to sharpen up my accent ear because I just thought they sounded the same. Or Eric Roberts, like using his own accent he's out of practice because I don't know, like his regular voice that just sounds LA to me sounds pretty natural, pretty lived in. Anyway, so this episode is all about miscommunication, and this is an ongoing theme for these people in the show because they already all of the kids, everyone but John Goodman, who is like the patriarch of this evangelist family church enterprise empire that is singing, and there's sermons and people talking and Bible stuff or whatever, but there's way more than that of singing and dancing and just all kinds of sort of like variety show kind of things. And I've been to one non-denominational enormous room church when I was in Texas, and it wasn't anything like that. There may have been some music, but it was not like entertainment and wearing a suit with rhinestones type. It just wasn't that big of a deal if there was some. So I don't know what goes on in the other ones. I know I've seen some on television. I know they have music. They didn't look like they were putting on a Broadway show, though. So obviously the show is playing up the things that are like normal and regular and blowing them all out of proportion for our entertainment. But it's also like a spotlight kind of on those things. So Eli is pretty normal, and like when we meet them, the mother has just died, and they were like broken, like falling apart. Mom's gone, and it was so you got the vibe that she was like the glue of the family and kept everybody together or whatever. And but they're pretty old. These people are adults already by the time this happens. And there's 3 siblings, and a couple of them have kids a couple of them are married and one has kids. And so they're not children, but they're like distraught. Understandably, but it just seemed like they were all like, somebody cut loose the mooring rope. We're gonna drift out, It just, I guess it's just sort of in keeping with the tone of the show. So I'm looking at this and going, okay, and then I thought of this in retrospect, while I'm looking at this episode, but they had to already be pretty messed up. Obviously, at the point that the woman died, because there are those people now. And so it doesn't seem like she did that great a job of raising them. And that I felt like it was just my own take. I don't know if they even touched on this on the show, but it's like that thing of having kids, not wanting to deal with them, not knowing how to deal with them, not wanting to, because you're really rich, not being forced to have to figure it out and getting other people to deal with it. You have some needy kids that it sure seems like somebody else brought up, and they're just like, all of them are misanthropes. They're all just a mess. They're super competitive. It's like a rat warren, like their relationship. And there are 3 you know, Jesse is just a total, like, dumb criminal guy. In fact, in this episode, it's a lot about, like, the siblings and how in this episode, Jesse, who's played by the hysterically funny Danny McBride, makes friends with this other, like, son of a rich person, that's played by Eric Andre, and he's Lyle. And immediately when I think of Eric Andre, I think he's going to start messing with you, but I didn't really see that happen. There's more to the story that's in the next episode that I have not watched yet, so still just sticking with episode 3. They meet. Jesse thinks they're just so bitchin', they hit it off. Lyle talks Jesse into a business arrangement, and I don't know, like, I'm not sure, like, what Jesse thinks, but I think he thinks it's a partnership of some type. But it's like this idea for a franchise of what do you, the share thing with the real estate things where you have it some part of the year and you share it with people. I hate when this happens. I knew it before I started just fine. I'll put it in the box. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. And so the idea is to get Jesse to pay for, like, a franchise of these, a hotel of these places. And Jesse's so dumb that he doesn't know that these things are a sucker deal, or like, it's a bad deal. And he is influenced by Lyle, because Lyle's like, well, my dad just knew to step away and let me take the reins of the business, and it looks like he's doing really good and everything's all flashy and fabulous. So Jesse's just all saucers for eyes. I want to do that. And he gets it in his head that Eli, who's played by John Goodman, the father, Dr. Eli Gemstone, he thinks it's about time that Eli do the same, and Jesse should come in and take over. So just remember how I said that these people seem like they were raised by, like, the help, and they didn't get enough parent time. And even Eli, who, again, I think is the most normal of those people, just as a regular human, he doesn't seem to have, like, all these weird neuroses his kids do. And he's just exhausted with them. I mean, they're adults, so he's been going through it with them for a long time, and it's always something if you watch that show. So Jesse comes to Eli with this dumbass idea, and Eli's got, like, other things going on that Jesse knows nothing about, and he's just like, you know what? You think you want to run the church? You think you can do this, like, all on your own, and you don't want me to butt in, and you don't need help from me? Because, okay, go ahead. And because he's just like, you know what, dummy, you'll find out. So Jesse tries to get started, and he and the wife are talking big and already spent the money they made, and how talking about how great they're gonna look to each other, and try to start the business, and come to find out, oh wait, you need money to do that? Well, we always get money from Dad. Shoot, we're gonna have to ask Dad. They try to scheme something up, but are not, like, bright enough to figure out anything. So, and they have nothing that's their own, and I guess they're already mortgaged to the hilt, because they are, even being rich or wealthy, and they obviously get a huge allowance because they have a house and cars and recreational vehicle things and whatever else, but none of the money's their own. So he goes back. They realize they have to go back to Eli. Jesse and his wife Amber, and they go back to him, and first they try to trick him out of the money, and they're not smart enough, and he sees them right away. So he's like, well, no, because you said you were going to do this all on your own. You didn't want no help from me, and I'm an old man, and I don't know what I'm doing, so have fun. and I just want to quickly like explain the other personalities of these siblings here. The middle child is Judy. I'm not sure if Judy didn't get like shoot, I hate it. What do you call that stuff that exterminators spray? If like some didn't get into her formula somehow, because she is like worms are eating that girl's brain. She is. I have referred to myself as socially feral before because I don't get enough actual FaceTime with people. But this woman, she's like completely inappropriate, has no filter, and misunderstands. And she went from being like Little Bo Peep to drunken sailor that got shanghaied and whatever. She just is foul mouthed, and she tries to curse spoonerism, curse vulgarly, and it just it's like Castiel on Supernatural, ass butt. Like that's his insult. Like she doesn't know what she's saying. She's just all dick fuck fact. It's just word sexual word salad. Ew. So that's her. She has a husband, and he is attracted to her, and just however spiny she is and inappropriate and also dumb. She's not very bright, and she is like Jessie, but she's like super competitive because she doesn't get to do anything, and she's always saying it's because I'm a girl, it's because I'm a woman, but that's not it. It's because of who she is. That's why Eli doesn't give her much to do, and Jessie's just like, you're not getting what I got, stay below me. Kind of threatened by her. And then there's a third sibling, and well, I mean, he's one of them for sure, but he's kind of his own guy, and he's a softer, more kind version of all of them to a degree. He's greedy and lazy too. and that also comes up because here's what his business is. This is so weird. He is the youth minister of the church, and those are strange. Like what he gets the kids pumped up to doing, or gets pumped up by. If I understand a youth minister right, they're like a counselor, but there's like also a camp counselor, and so they have to like entertain the kids in a wholesome way. So Kelvin is the youngest sibling's name, and his his gimmick is a bunch of muscle men. Like he even calls them muscle men, but muscle men for God. And so the most holy thing you could do, or to please God, or whatever his bullshit is to be healthy and pure and in shape. So he has this gaggle of grown men that just hang around and work out and jump around, and they rarely have a shirt on. And then there's one that's sort of like the leader of them, and he was just the friend of Kelvin, and now somehow he's like his his valet, but he's got like unrequited love for Kelvin, and both of them are sort of like, the whole thing is totally homoerotic if you're not like catching on to where I'm going here. But you know, he looks at Kelvin, Levi is his name. Wait, is that the right one? Where did my paper go? I don't need the paper. Keith. He looks at him like a dog looks at your bite of delicious meat or something. It's deep love. And Kelvin, I think, registers it, but he's got his own things that he's not like admitting. And the only one that says anything even directly pointed about it is occasional teasing from Jesse about like his whole thing being all gay. But he doesn't, I really don't remember him saying, I could be wrong totally, but I don't remember him saying anything about it's totally gay, but you're in the closet and blah, 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 making fun like that. It's just like it's the most vague, like they don't care. Nobody cares about that. They just think it's funny. And they don't really do anything. They're like they're like Scientologists. They jump around and they assemble and they make noises and demonstrate a lot of sounds and motions, but accomplishments are few and far between. So he is the valet. There was a scene and it's just very odd. He, the valet will help the like nobleman dress as if he can't lift his own finger, and that's exactly how Kelvin has this guy attend him. So he just like is talking to him in this huge like closet for rich people, like big enough for me to live in with bunk beds, and he takes off his shirt because like nobody's really wearing shirts in Kelvin's world. But the thing about Kelvin is he's kind of, well, not kind of, he's a pudgy little puddin'. He's not as fat as he has been on the show, or even the actor in life can listen. This is no put down. I'm just saying that he tends to be a little round. So he's not as round as he has been, but there's not much sign of muscles or exertion or exercise on the guy. And that's part of the joke, I'm sure. But he's talking to him. He takes off his like kimono robe or whatever. He doesn't have a shirt, and he just whips off his pants. And then next thing you know, he's like, they don't show it. They don't show him from. It's like from like the just below the nipples down, so you don't see, but you get it. And he then takes off his underpants, and then I think he like flings them at Keith or something to pick up and fold or dispose of, or whatever the help is supposed to do with it. And he's that dismissive, and this guy is so sad because he's like, what the hell happened, man? We used to be friends. Well, he doesn't say that. That's my interpretation of his expression. Like, I feel like that's what he's thinking. Like, come on, man, I still love you. Why are you doing this to me? And I'm thinking, why is he doing it to you? And why are you letting him? Yeah, why is he doing that to you? That's not the kind of friend I would want. Just saying. And, but one benefit that Keith, I think, gets out of the relationship, I'm not sure if there's like payroll that crosses hands or some semblance of it, whatever that currency would be, I don't know. It's not really discussed. Although I have to say I haven't finished all the episodes. My viewing is very spotty and I really need to go back and catch up from where I left off a while ago. But anyway, what I do see Keith getting out of this relationship, this abusive relationship, is that he then gets to go lord over the other men. He's older. He's in fine shape. He's in way the hell better shape than Kelvin, that's for sure. It's alarming, actually, how good a shape he's in. But, not in a bad way. And, not alarming in a bad way, to be clear. And he leaves that scene I just described in that dressing room closet deal, and goes outside and starts talking to the other men. Who's, you know what else they do besides exercise is they're supposed to be studying Bible verses, and I guess they stopped doing that because, for one thing, Kelvin has found other stuff to occupy himself. Like, he's involved with this. Damn it, I want to say what that real estate, and all that keeps coming to mind is ride share, and that's not the right kind of share. Um, it's the domicile kind. Dang it. But anyway, Kelvin's kind of distracted by that, so he hasn't been around to lead this Bible verse reading, and they had some other complaints, but that was the main one for me, and I'm thinking, I wouldn't be wanting to do that either. Like, this guy is weird, so I don't know what a Bible verse coming from Kelvin would be like, but I'm just gonna go with strange. But it's all very entertaining. The thing about the siblings, and they never mention any kind of schooling education, so they're not the kind of kids whose families bought them university educations and they can run around, flaunting degrees that are that are ersatz. So no, they don't talk about it at all, and you can tell they haven't been. But they're every other kind of spoiled that we've kind of heard about, and it's so like overblown, the representation, but it's perfect because, well, I mean, I just enjoy that kind of thing. But if it's anywhere near you and you don't have a sense of humor about yourself, really in any walk of life, if you do not have a sense of humor about yourself, I feel like you're gonna have a bad time. You got to learn to laugh at yourself. It makes life a lot easier. It has for me, but I learned early because people have always been messing with me. But they are completely ill-equipped to deal with life, regular life, like life that the poors have to deal with all the time. Like Jesse couldn't even recognize that this real estate deal he's gotten himself so starry-eyed about, that he's not equipped to run it. He doesn't know how to finance it. He sure is not going to know how to manage people that are like his employees have been family. So if you can just imagine how he treats them. I mean, it's weird. It's just weird. But it's so funny. So what am I doing on time here? Oh, Lord, it's going. Okay, let me try and hurry up. These people are so busy competing about this real estate deal that they completely missed the fact that the thing that Dad was doing while all of this other stuff I just described is going on is his friend Junior has come to town. He's not exactly thrilled to see Junior. Junior's an old family friend. Their dads used to know each other, but Junior loved Eli's dad because, well, Junior's the problem. So he learned it from Dad. He's a liar. He's a troublemaker. He is one of those people that's all, you disrespected me. And I'm like, and you're like, you haven't earned my respect though. Like turn on a dime from all nice and happy, but it's like just the thinnest veneer of that, and underneath is, you disrespected me. And that actually comes up. What I'm talking about? If you don't know someone like that, maybe you've seen them portrayed on something what I'm saying. So they're out having a drink for old time's sake, and they're reminiscing, but well, okay, they get done and they go to leave, and Eric Roberts is a little guy, like actor little, and John Goodman is a pretty big guy. Like he's tall, and they're leaving the bar and they're drunk, and this guy is coming the other way, and he's tall and he's kind of meaty, and he's like a bully, he's the kind of guy that is just, oh, you're gonna look at me and I'm gonna scare you and I'm not gonna have any resistance. And Junior just he bumps into them, and Junior gets all puffed up like a little rooster and starts talking a bunch of shit, and basically ends up getting knocked down by this guy. And then that guy is like Junior, so they're just going back and forth. And here comes Eli. He's trying to say, hey, come on, we don't need to do all of that. Like, let's be done. And then gets himself a punch in the mouth for it. But then he turns it to, like, he takes off his glasses and goes over there and basically pummels the guy and finishes him. He's not dead, but he's down for the count. And over this period of the drinking and the reminiscing about the family, we learn, or I learned, it may have come up in the past, like I said, I need to catch up, but that the fathers were in wrestling, and then the sons were both also in wrestling, like small scale. It sounded like the way they show it on Heels, I think, with the guy from Arrow, stupid memory. Anyway, that kind of small scene, it seemed like. Almost like a carnival situation, which I think is where Junior said he ended up after his wrestling career folded. And it sounded like it was a lot of his own behavior that, like, messed that up. And that explains why the feeling you get about Junior right away is correct. Like, he's trouble and you want him to, why did you show up here? Oh no, you want him to go, right? So that's what happened. And then the kids have not met Junior. They're all suspicious of him. They have heard something that they've already got it in, like, unrelated to this whole fight at the bar, right? They have screwed up something they heard, because they heard one thing and then it was like a telephone game between the three of them, and it just kept going around and around and getting more and more distorted. And they got the first thing wrong, so it was just always wrong. But they had got it in their head after all of this thinking that their dad had murdered someone. So Eli couldn't drive home. He didn't want to let Junior come, or I think, because they didn't come together. But he came back with Eli came back with, what the hell's this guy's name? Martin, one of his friends, and he had left his glasses where he got into the fight, so he couldn't drive himself. And so Martin came to get him and bring him home, and whenever he could get a spare pair of glasses, if you care about that detail. But the point was for him to arrive in a strange way, disheveled because he'd been in a fight and had been knocked down, and then got up and tore up his clothes, knocking somebody else down. Yeah, he looked a mess. And so he also had blood on his pants from hitting this guy. So he walks up and the family immediately thinks, we were right, he killed someone. So they're trying to talk to him like, we know what you've done. We know what kind of person you are. And, he finally gets it out of them and realizes whatever the hell they're talking about is wrong. It's probably something he always had to deal with. But he's sitting down and he said, look, something happened and I didn't want to have to, like, be in front of you with it. It was just an embarrassing thing. And then he had said something like he had soiled himself or something. Like, he made up an excuse, but I think it was just, a way to not talk about what had happened with Junior. But they bring up Junior, and then he just shows up uninvited. Love people like that. and starts talking about what they were reminiscing about, and because then they realized that he wasn't out like up to no good with Junior, or that Junior didn't come to town and make him a murderer. Uh, okay. But it comes out that they wrestled together, Junior and Dad, or yeah, Junior and Eli, and they didn't know that, and they didn't know any of that, and they didn't know who Eli was, and they had been all suspicious of. So the point to me was like, I don't know what it means in the real world, but in this show, these dipwits don't. You have to give them a diagram and lead them by the nose. Like they can't figure out anything. They couldn't make it in the real world with the pores. That was what I got from it. The if you enjoy a lot of the stuff that gets a lot of press and value in society, getting skewered and satired, this is a good show for it. And they have a great cast on. They have a great cast. Anyway, I've gone long enough. Thank you and good night.